In history, empires were built with swords, crowns, and armies. But there was one dynasty that used something far more powerful, and that's money. For more than 2 centuries, whispers traveled through palaces, parliaments, and newspapers, warning of a family said to control governments, trigger wars, influence kings, and move nations like chess pieces. Their name was the Rothschilds. Loved, feared, blamed, admired, they became symbols of invisible power. But who are they really? How did one family become the most misunderstood dynasty in modern history? This is that story. The legend begins not with palaces or gold vaults, but in a narrow Jewish ghetto in Frankfurt in the mid 1700s. Life was hard. Laws restricted where Jews could live, work, or own land. Among these cramped streets lived Mayor Amschel Rothschild, a coin dealer, a bookseller, a father of 10 children, and a man with no wealth, but an unusual talent. He watched how money behaved. While others sold goods, Mayer studied coins, banking, metal values, and how nations used currency like weapons. He discovered a truth most people never saw. Money traveled faster than armies, and influence followed whoever controlled it. He wasn't born rich, he was born observant. Mayer's true genius wasn't what he earned, it was how he raised his sons. Instead of training them as traders, he turned them into financiers. Then he made the boldest decision of his life. He sent each of his 5 sons to 5 different financial capitals of Europe: London, Paris, Vienna, Naples, Frankfurt. They weren't just running branches of a business, they were becoming something unheard of in Europe: a private intelligence network. At a time when kings relied on slow messengers, a Rothschild letter could cross borders faster than official channels. Fast, secret, trusted information became their true currency. Europe had armies and thrones. The Rothschilds had information. History changed their fate. Europe descended into chaos. Napoleon was rising, borders collapsing, kings desperate for survival. Governments needed supplies, armies, gold, loans, and logistics. Banks hesitated, but the Rothschilds didn't. They financed transport, grain supplies, war effort, and state borrowing. The British Army, among others, used their networks to move money and information. Their influence wasn't mysterious, it was transactional. They funded survival, and survival remembers loyalty. And when Napoleon fell, the Rothschilds reportedly knew it before London did. For the first time in history, a bank moved faster than an empire. That moment gave birth to their legend. People fear what they don't understand. Newspapers began portraying the Rothschilds as invisible manipulators. They controlled governments. They start wars for profit. They own the world. Anti Semitism mixed with jealousy, transforming real achievement into conspiracy theory. The Rothschilds weren't secretive. Society simply misunderstood finance. Information, credit, and networks looked like magic to people who didn't understand money. A myth was born, and it spread faster than truth. Did they influence governments? Yes, the same way banks today influence policy. Did they fund wars? Yes, just like every major bank of the era. Did they own the world? No. Their empire was vast, but fragmented, regional, and heavily dependent on political acceptance. Their so called world domination was largely myth, propaganda, and the human instinct to explain power through conspiracy. Reality was far simple. They were extremely successful bankers in a world that didn't know how banking worked. Over the 1800s, the family funded railways, mining, canals, government loans, industrial projects, and philanthropic works. They helped in rebuilding cities, stabilize currencies, negotiate state debts, and create infrastructure. For decades, they were Europe's premier financiers. But history never leaves anyone untouched. By late 1800s and early 1900s, new forces arrived like central banks, national banking systems, America's rise, oil tycoons, and corporate capitalism. The very system the Rothschilds helped build began replacing them. Today, when we hear the name, we imagine hidden power, but the truth is their dominance faded long ago. Their wealth splintered across generations, their influence diluted, and modern financial empires took over their role. Public companies replaced family dynasties. Governments began borrowing from institutions instead of private bankers. The myth outlived the reality. If their power declined, why do people still fear or blame them? Because the Rothschilds became a psychological symbol. People hate the idea that someone far away might quietly control their fate. The dynasty became a projection of society's deepest insecurity, the belief that invisible forces rule the world. Whether true or not didn't matter. What mattered was perception. The Rothschilds weren't magicians or villains. They were bankers, network builders, opportunists, pioneers in information flow. They understood money long before societies did. They saw that wealth is not gold, it is control over decisions. That insight made them legends and targets too. Today, the Rothschilds still exist as wealthy families, philanthropists, and quiet financiers. But the dynasty that once seemed unstoppable was ultimately undone, not by enemies, but by evolution. Empires change shape, systems grow beyond their creators. Power rarely stays in one place forever. Their story is not one of dominance, but of timing, ambition, and the psychology of fear. In the end, they weren't gods or demons, just humans who built something the world wasn't ready to understand. Their real victory was insight, their real downfall was perception. Because in history, power is real, but belief, it's unstoppable. The Rothschild dynasty teaches us one truth the great power isn't money, but the story people choose to believe about it. Thank you for watching the video. This was Pra9Verse, where hidden truths breathe and forgotten stories rise again. If you seek the unseen, you belong here. Until the next revelation, bye bye.